o'clock. So if you all would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a consent agenda.
Sir, I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we've rearranged the agenda a little bit, so the first thing up will be consider awarding the request for proposal for the wage study, and that's Trinice.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Trinice Robertson, the HR Director. Oh, can you hear me? Good now.
Okay,
Is that better?
that's better.
Sorry. So we're wanting you to consider awarding the RFP that we did for the FY25 classification and compensation study to McGrath Human Resources Group. We had 7 vendors participate in the process. We had 2 finalists come in that had all of the requirements that we were looking for, including public safety experience. McGrath HR Group comes highly recommended. Our city manager has worked with this group before. I did reference checks, and they came back excellent, exceptional customer service, great work product, and data so that we could implement phasing going forward. So at this point, if you guys have any questions or feedback.
Which one was the second one that was brought in?
Evergreen Solutions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the recommendation was for the body of work for McGrath as opposed to the low price? I mean, just say more about what that recommendation is about.
Yeah, so the recommendation for McGrath is really because they have the more expansive city municipal government experience that we're looking for. They work for, they've done consultant work for quite a few cities in Kansas, so they're very well aware of our market, of this region, and that was very important to us. Evergreen's profile was almost too expansive. They worked nationally. I think it was like 100 pages of cities and a small percentage of Midwest regional area. So McGrath was just a better fit for the city of Newton in that regard. Both exceptional. Both are going to do job description questionnaires for us. They're going to do surveys for us. They're going to help us with our pay plan structure. They're going to meet with key stakeholders. This price also includes their travel expenses too. So it was a pretty competitive process, but McGrath did come on top really because of the references we got back and how easy they are to work with, the responsiveness and their communication, which is going to be obviously very critical for us going forward. So
Thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I move that we approve McGrath HR Group for this process.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Comments?
I would just ask that the next time any of these types of situations where we're not going to pick one of the most economical ones, that we have a matrix that shows us those additional decision points. You clarify them for us, so I think the decision is easy. But that way we would have that in the record later if somebody ever wondered what was up. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Denise.
Thank you, Trinice.
Okay, presentation from the Drug Free Youth Coalition.
Hello. Hopefully my PowerPoint isn't too complicated.
No,
Sorry about all the animations and everything.
you're fine. I'm going to bring over the.
Oh, sweet. So I'm sure I know all of you guys. I'm Benjamin Meyer. I want to wish you guys a happy Youth Substance Use Prevention Month. Thank you. October is Youth Substance Use Prevention Month. We tend to, in prevention, sort of fly under the radar because if what we're doing is working, people tend to not notice. So that's good. But anyway, yes, it's Youth Substance Use Prevention Month. Maybe we'll just pretend. There we go. So some clarification. Again, I apologize for all of the animations. So we work for MIR. This is Melinda Heber as well, and she's our community mobilizer for our Harvey County Defy Coalition. She's going to talk about the coalition here. We both work for MIR. MIR kind of hosts the coalition. MIR, you may know if you want to click, does substance use treatment. It's the largest provider of substance use treatment in Kansas, but we also do prevention, and our prevention department has received state and national recognition, especially state. The national recognition has been, we've presented at some conferences and got some recognition that way. The STAND teams that I'll talk about briefly here in just a minute have also received some national recognition, including a tweet from the First Lady a few years ago, no big deal. So that's just a little bit of an explanation of our department and our connection with MIR. Next. Oh, yeah, and then this is the continuum of care. You didn't know that you were going to get a full-on lecture here this evening. So the continuum of care as far as substance use treatment. So we start with promotion, but the green circles is really where we live in prevention, and then once someone starts using a substance, then they move into treatment and intervention services. We do have a few intervention services that I'll talk about on the next slide. But universal, selective, and indicated, those are all the prevention lines. That's just so you know that there's a difference between substance treatment and recovery and prevention. But MIR does all of those things, so cool. Next. Yep, MIR. So underneath MIR, we have Harvey County Defy. Defy stands for Drug-Free Youth. That's the coalition made up of adults throughout the county that are working on preventing youth substance use. Then we also have STAND. You guys probably all know STAND. I had my teal STAND shirt on earlier today because I went to Chisholm and we just launched a STAND team at Chisholm this year. You'll hear more about STAND because it's Prevention Month. We're taking up both of your meetings, and STAND is going to present next month. Next meeting. And there may even be some STAND kids from Newton here as well. But then we also have Teen Intervene. I don't have a cool logo for that one, but Teen Intervene is an evidence-based program for those students in Harvey County and McPherson County, actually, that maybe have used a substance to help redirect them, make some better choices, and catch them before it becomes an issue and they need to move into treatment, kind of. So next. So why prevention is important. So I talk about this when we present about everything. That's a brain. The blue section is the last thing to develop. So right behind your forehead is the last part of your brain to actually develop. It develops from the back forward, and that blue section is in charge of controlling attention, impulse control, memory, flexible thinking, decision making, all of those really, really important things. That's actually the last thing to develop. Unfortunately, that doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, 26, in males even 28. So this is why maybe our high schoolers act the way that they do sometimes. So when you add a substance to that development, it can actually hardwire a brain to need that substance for the rest of their life, and they can struggle. 90% of those adults who struggle with a substance started before the age of 18. So what we're trying to do is just keep them off of those things. And this is, if you click, this is just another way of showing that same thing. This is specific to alcohol, but if you start using alcohol at the age of 13, you have a 47% risk of alcoholism as an adult. And the longer you put it off, this is why we have a drinking age, a smoking age, all of these things, the longer you put it off, the less likely you are to struggle with that. So that was my education piece for the evening. I'm going to pass it off to Melinda, I think, next.
Move this down. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Harvey County Defy. We run on a drug-free communities grant, which is a federal grant. For that, we have to have 12 sectors of the community at our table. So you can see on there we have youth, we have parents, we have business, we have media, law enforcement, all of those people coming together so that we can catch all different parts of the county and communities. We have some people in the room. Rod is on our coalition, and Dana, Aaron is on it. Alini back there is on it. So we have a really good group that gets together monthly to work on all kinds of initiatives to help prevent youth substance use. Next. So when we started in 2017, we were higher than the state in some substances here in Harvey County. So we've done a lot of work over the last few years, and we're really proud of the things that we've done. So you can see alcohol was about 18%, and now our latest data, we're down to about 6%. You go to the next one, sorry, go ahead. Yes, youth use in Harvey County, sorry. Marijuana was about 8%, and now we're down to about 3%. And then vaping that really exploded in 2019, we were close to 12%, and now we're down to about 4.5%. So something's working. We hope that STAND and all of what we're doing is working, and just people getting more educated, and parents as well. Next. So we work on, we call what's called risk factors. So our kids take the KCTC survey in 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grades in all of our Harvey County schools. And so it showed that our risk factors here in Harvey County, we were higher than the state in poor family management. The things that go into that are like knowing where your kids are, knowing what they're doing, having rules in your home, having clear boundaries about drug use. So those are things that we're working to improve because we were higher than the state. And then family conflict is kind of just what it sounds like, having issues in the family. So this last 5 years of our DFC grant, we're really working on hitting parents, talking to them about engaging their kids, being available, all those kind of things to also help with drug use. Feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting things, Benjamin. Next are the protective factors. So these are the good things. We were also higher than the state in community rewards for involvement. That includes things like people knowing kids' names in their communities, saying that kids saying that teachers tell them that they're proud of them, and their neighbors would encourage them. So these are things we've also been working on, bringing communities together, block parties, different things like that, so that we know kids' names, we're available to them, and they feel safe in their communities. And then also healthy beliefs and clear standards is kind of what it sounds like as well, helping people establish clear rules in their homes. And if kids know that parents want them not to use, research shows that they're less likely to use. So
we're higher in those protective factors.
Yes, good thing. So some other things that we do with Defy is, like I said, a lot of parent education. We talk about the latest drug trends and just educate parents, like what do vapes look like, and what kind of things are kids using right now, and then how to talk to their kids. We do community presentations like this. We've talked to a lot of different groups lately. We do a lot of messaging campaigns. I don't know if you've seen, we have stuff on at the movie theater. We have stuff on the Axon sign at 8th and Main. Citizen State Bank lets us use their billboards, and so anywhere we can put messaging up, we try to do that. We talk a lot at schools and to teachers, especially about vaping and marijuana. We've been talking to student bodies. We just got asked to talk to Heston students coming up here, and Manny goes all over McPherson and Harvey County talking about vaping and different things and how it harms kids. And then we do student alternative activities like fifth quarters, after games, different things to keep kids busy and doing productive things. And then we work on school policy changes as well. So getting codes of conduct changed, getting clear standards across the boards in schools as well. And yeah, I'll let Benjamin finish.
I don't need to go on too much longer, but what we're, like Melinda said, what we're trying to do is encourage more neighborhood connection, because we know that builds protection in for kids. Encourage community engagement, both for kids and adults. Like, everybody needs more community engagement. We need more volunteers and everything, probably. So the more those things, that engagement buffers kids from risky behaviors like substance use. I read an article today, if I can have just a minute, I read an article today about family engagement and targeting parents with education, helping them facilitate conversations with their kids about substance use. And if we can effectively do that, it protects them not only from substance use, but risky sexual behaviors. It boosts kids' mental health. It creates more connection with school. It has an impact on all of those things. So we're not just harping at parents and trying to get them to talk to their kids. What we really want to do, it affects like the entire life of the child, and it affects the outcomes of our community as well, because those children will either move away or they will stay here and they will become productive workers, hopefully productive workers in our community. So the healthier they can stay, the more productive they can be, generating something for the economy and all of those things. So yeah, we are engaged and hoping for ways to partner with anybody. If you guys have ideas, if you're trying to do community engagement activities, or if you have big things going on, we would love to be a part of them. Have education. I know Aaron has talked about being able to communicate things for us and stuff like that. So we appreciate all of those little things. That's what the coalition is all about, everybody coming together and utilizing what they have. So thank you for your time today. And if you do have questions, we are available. But
Thank you. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, very well done.
Yes,
Great
thank
work.
you. I wish, I love that you have these parent resources to educate the parents so that, and having those conversations with their children. I wish, my oldest is 32 years old. I wish we would have had something like that to help us initiate having those conversations, that support. I think that's going to be amazing for this community. You guys do such a great, Benjamin and I've worked together before years ago. And so we know each other, and he's very committed to this, to our youth in the community. So I couldn't think of a better person to implement this. So thank you, both of you.
I have a question real quick. So in the work that you're doing with families and trying to, promote, better relationships between parents and their kids, do you think that some of the problems there are too related to phones, that everybody's on their phones and there's no relationship anymore with, at the table, or everybody's, that to me would be a big part of that communication gap.
I'm not a parent. Melinda is, but from what I can see, yes, there are a lot of factors that play into that relationship.
Sure.
Phones is a big one. Also just the busyness of sports, extracurriculars, all of those things that fill up an evening that parents are rushing around. Even they're stressed out trying to get kids places. Melinda has 5 kids, and I'm stressed out watching her run her 5 kids around. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
I mean, again, we just talked to families about having family meals together is a protective factor, and just the more you can do things like that. So, just encouraging parents. Yeah.
Thank you.
But it doesn't have to be a lot. One thing we tell parents is it's better to have 61-minute conversations than one 60-minute conversation. And yeah, when you see a billboard or when something comes up, address it. It doesn't have to be let's sit down and talk about this in depth. It doesn't have to be like that. And sometimes that's a relief to parents when we've talked to parents before. Parents have come up after, I saw them in Walmart or something. And you're like, there's the drug guy. And they tell me, we had a conversation in the car on the way home from the presentation. I was like, that's what we wanted. Thank you so much for telling me. That's awesome.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
That's awesome.
There's the drug guy.
Love
That's
that.
great.
Thanks, Ben and Melinda. Okay, next on the agenda, review and adopt the city's strategic goals for 2025, 2026. That would be Daniela.
Thank you. I'm super excited to share our updated strategic plan, which outlines our vision and mission and objectives for the upcoming 2 years. This plan is a result of a collaborative effort between all the department heads, and which was sort of shaped already before we took an old plan and we sort of refreshed it. So this plan, I believe, reflects our commitment to growth and innovation here at the City of Newton for the next couple of years. Some key highlights of the strategic plan: we feel very strongly about our servant leadership model. Therefore, you will see that our plan is prefaced with our vision, our mission, our guiding principles, and our six-pack, which are our core values. The strategic plan is formatted in a way where we have 3 main pillars. Each pillar has 1 to 4 areas, and under each area there's a goal, an objective, or an action item. Our main pillars we landed on were, number 1 was to sustain exceptional public service. Number 2 was to create a welcoming place to call home. And number 3 is to plan and grow for the future. We all agree and acknowledge that this is a living document and will require updating from time to time, although we hope that is not a whole lot during the next 24 months. We will keep you updated on this plan as often as you would like. I will be more than happy to highlight some of the goals under each pillar that I'm excited about. For our first pillar, to sustain exceptional public service, one of the items that we included is to increase transparency and engagement to improve trust. Communication is the foundation of everything we do at the city, and we see that there are always opportunities to do even better, even though we have a rock star communications director. But and we have come up with ideas on how to even augment what we currently do, which includes redoing our website, establishing a city outreach and engagement program, conducting public surveys more often, reaching out to our community, implementing an online pay option for city fees, and reviewing and updating our municipal code. Large feats, but totally doable. Number 2, create a welcoming place to call home. Several items under there. One of my favorite ones is investing in downtown. Rebecca and Jen and Zach have been working tirelessly on making sure that our community development, economic development program is top-notch. And with the Heartland Flyer, the redevelopment of 320 Main, and just really revamping our Main Street, that has become a focus for us in that goal. A pillar under number 3, which is plan and grow for the future. Make sure I have this. Okay. Something that we are super excited about, which is already happening, we're just doubling down on this, is to leverage the partnerships that we currently have towards community growth. Right now, we currently pursue every partnership we are able to. I know that Suzanne has been collaborating with NRC on Themian Park. We are recruiting developers to increase our housing. We're utilizing industry engagement information from Harvey County to influence our decision-making. Lots of things in this plan, lots of things we're excited about. I would ask that you provide all the feedback, anything you love, you don't love. We are open and asking for any suggestions, because this will be our path forward for the next 24 months. Thank you. Okay.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd open it up to any of the department heads if you'd like to say anything about this plan.
We've been talking about creating a culture where trustworthiness is important, and honesty and transparency, and then growing our community inside of that culture. And that's what this plan is all about. And it's been around, and like she said, it's a working document.
Like I said, this document is not set in stone. We can update it whenever you'd like. This will help us ensure we're staying on track. So
It really seems to be all-inclusive in all the things that we talk about from time to time about what our priorities are and what the things that mean the most to the 5 of us and to the rest of our citizens that we represent. I think this is a very, very, very well done.
Yes.
I think if we are going to use it, then we should crosswalk, and any items that come up on our agendas should be matched to these pillars and to these specific items, so that we're checking ourselves against what we say our plan is.
good idea. Thank you.
Motion
Just a simple motion.
to adopt. So we need a motion to adopt the city's strategic goals for 2025 and 2026.
I move that we adopt this plan.
I second.
So we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
well done. Receive an update on the historical preservation study, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a quick overview of what the Historic Preservation Commission got to hear last night. We started in 2023. We applied for a Historic Preservation Fund grant. The city's been awarded those grants many, many years going back. We've done lots of different projects, a lot of printed projects, including surveys before, but it's been a while since we updated our downtown survey. As Daniela mentioned in your strategic goals and plans, a lot of those revolve around planning for the growth. And while now that's formalized, internally we've been already working on that. And one of the pieces to plan for growing was to update our understanding and our inventory of our historic and cultural resources to kind of help see where we've been as a community, what's important to the community, and what we want to continue to preserve as a community to keep that cultural fabric intact. So in the 2023 round of grants, we were awarded through the State Historic Preservation Office a $30,000 grant that we utilized to contract with our consultant, which was Polis Cultural Planning through Cynthia Ammerman, who was the principal on the project, to resurvey our C3 district. So it was the entire C3 district. I'm going to use some of the slides that she presented last night to the Historic Preservation Commission. We are right at the end of our project. We have everything submitted to the state. She gave the report to the Historic Preservation Commission last night, and we are waiting for our final crossing our T's and dotting our I's to do our grant report, which I hope to have finalized by year end. We have until 1st February of 2025. So this gives you a little timeline of how we utilize this, the kickoff meetings we had, the engagement and the processes. This it's still in draft form. It says final. It is still draft form of the report that you have has been looked at through city departments and edited multiple times. But I'm going to go over what she kind of worked on. The first piece that they came to do, she works with her colleague Pablo, who aided in some of the photography and the translation work. They do a visual survey, so they came to town multiple times to visually survey the conditions and take photographs. Spent many, many hours at the Historic Museum doing the research and gathering newspaper and archival information and city directories, and then documenting that through those photographs and setting them where they need to go in the mapping. And then they tried to assess each property. We estimated that we had 250 properties in our downtown. They were able to narrow that down a little bit. It was actually 193 parcels that ended up being surveyed. 62 of those had never been surveyed. 80 of those parcels are already included in our current Main Street 1 and Main Street 2 historic districts. And then 51 of them were in an inventory list, but they'd never been formally assessed as to their historic significance. So those were the items that they were really tasked with looking at through this process. So here you can see through our zoning where that C3 district is, and in the photograph or the image there on the right side, you'll see those historic Main Street 1 and 2 where the railroad tracks divides it. And we were looking at the entire C3 district. That's our Main Street district, and that's where we also have historic resources kind of peppered throughout. So we were wanting a professional and objective look at is there anything we're missing? Is there anything else we should be thinking about? What do we want to document? Surveys also allow us to just kind of preserve a point in time to see where we're at, as if we lose some of that fabric due to time or age, or whether we have that registry there at the state office. During this process, she opened it up to newer buildings, because now we go through the more mid-century modern. We generally look at buildings that are about 50 years old or older, so a lot more different stylized buildings that continue to help form that history and show the commerce and growth of the community. She outlined those in purple on this map for us. The maps might not have all made it into your report, and I apologize. We had multiple drafts coming through, so when I get a final, I will submit it to the commissioners, and we'll try to get it posted on our website. And then she offers an expanded boundary, and this would be a potential next project to encapsulate some of those other newer resources that might be post-modern assets or other assets that she believes in her professional expertise to be culturally or historically relevant and that could be considered. Now, those would be multiple steps and multiple pieces if we wanted to either expand the nomination form or add to it or modify it. But these were some of the asks that we had in the proposal. And this was what it looks overlapped, which the contributing buildings in a district are the ones that have the historical significance, but you don't want to leave little postage stamp sizes out. So you'll see some in these images that might not fit. But again, this keeps that continuity, which is what the Department of the Interior looks at. These would go before them. She also recommends that we have a future study area. It's a little south of the tracks. When she did some of her cultural studies that follow the waves of immigration and medical and healthcare and some of the other items that she addressed. And so those will be other pieces that staff will delve into the reports and bring to the Historic Preservation Commission for direction and to you all as well as we continue our planning efforts. So these are the four that she gives us, is to expand the historical context. That would leave the district sizes the same, with the same number of buildings, but just update the statement of significance to go into the late 70s and just make sure we capture everything else that we can. The other would be to expand the physical footprint and then potentially adding those more later dated pieces. The other option or additional, we could do both and, would do a multiple property documentation. This is when you maybe look at healthcare in Newton or immigration patterns in Newton or some other topic, and you pick lots of pieces that could go into that, and maybe you use that documentation to put up historic signage or monuments or something like that. And one of her fourth recommendations is to do that other, there we go, in the printmaking communications. So there's a couple pieces here that we can move forward on in different ways. So definitely looking forward to that as we move forward, but that's where we are at the moment. Again, when we get the 100% final proof, I will make sure that we get it to you. One of the other things that she mentioned to us is that we asked that the entire report be delivered in Spanish as well, and it is the first time that she knows that it's been done in Kansas and certainly in the region. And for us, it is the first time we've had a planning document in another language. So it's helping to ensure that we can address all of our residents where they are and include those items. So we're really excited to see it. Like I said, we're just at finalizing some of the last remaining pieces, and then we'll be closing out the grant. But I'd stand for any questions.
A lot of work.
Thank you. I would move that we receive the update.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Rod, just one little thing.
Mhm.
Yesterday, this plan was presented to our planning commission, and Cynthia did such a fantastic job. But I don't think that we gave Rebecca enough credit, because this was a facilitated project since before I started. So I just wanted to give Rebecca a shout out, and to our consultant who made historic preservation interesting to someone who's not really a historic buff. She did a fantastic job. We're very blessed to have had her. So just want to point that out.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Good work, Rebecca. Receive bids and award the contract for the Spencer Road paving project.
Yes, Commissioners, on October 1st, we opened bids for the Spencer paving project, but I should tell you that during the bidding process, which, remember, on August 7th, you approved us moving forward with bids. So we put the project out to bid. It gets sent out to multiple contractors, and all kinds of sub-vendors and contractors start looking at the plans, and they determine pricing and come together. We started hearing from contractors that their schedules were so busy, they were very booked. There was no way they were going to be able to move forward with the schedule that we had in the bid documents. And so we put out a couple of different addendums about different items, one of which was moving the schedule so that we would not move forward with phase one this fall, but we would put that in the spring as well. And so this project, it'll still be done in 3 phases, but we won't start until March of next year. Sometime between March 17th and March 31st is when the project would begin. And that, I think, bought us time and bought us some pretty good bids here. So the bid tab that you have in front of you shows we had 3 bids. The low bid was Conspec, which is Kansas Paving, at $2,595,234. And staff would recommend that you award bids to the low bidder as presented.
And what type of material?
It'll be asphalt,
It'll be asphalt.
as we had discussed.
Right, right.
Because the getting in and out through there, we want to go ahead and just lay asphalt, roll it down, and be able to get on it and not have cure time that we're worrying about.
Questions, comments?
I sure like the bid.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot lower than,
Yeah.
Saved a few $100,000, huh?
Yep.
Well, I move that we approve Conspec being the contractor for this project.
I second.
okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Receive an update on environmental control. Suzanne?
Yes, we should have a PowerPoint here that we wanted to show. Back in March, we kind of gave you an update where we were at with environmental control. And we had purchased some new software, and you had asked us to focus on a few things. And so you wanted us to be more focused in our efforts of how we were enforcing our environmental code, and spoke specifically about eradicating weeds and about removing of inoperable vehicles and eliminating the off-street parking where we have people parking on the grass and everything, and then just overall elimination of blight and rundown buildings. The things that we are continuing to do, I don't ever want to leave these out, so that you know we are continuing with our bulky item pickup program and tagging those items that are left out at the curb. We continue to receive lots of requests to address items through our Newton Connect mobile app. We still have the Pride programs with Roadside Pride, Creekside Pride, Parkside Pride. Any group that would like to participate in that and get a sign put up with their organization's name on it, because they're picking up litter, we would be happy to speak with them. We still have our roll-off dumpsters that any of our customers can rent. We have landfill coupons that we provide to our utility customers, and they can take their own trash at their own leisure out to the transfer station. We have our sidewalk repair program. We are continuing the contractor tree trimming program, and we are budgeting for demolitions. And then we still have our neighborhood weatherization programs. The thing that we talked about the most in March was about our new software. Remember this iWorks software? And this environmental case tracking software is working great for us, because we are able to connect and do more inspections and stay on top of all of the pieces. We're able to communicate much better our staff between engineering and court staff, so that we're keeping things moving through the process. And during this process, we changed a few things. We are sending out all violation notices to the property owners, not just tenants, but to property owners. And we are doing a trial run on weed violations, and we have been sending some of them regular mail for the first time. to save on postage, because we're running about $9.42 when you send that certified mail. But, you know, we're trying to send just a regular letter and see if we can get people to take care of their weeds. We also are making sure that we are notifying property owners about sidewalk assistance programs and all of our weatherization programs, because sometimes if the tenant was the one that received the information, it wouldn't get passed on. And so we're making a concerted effort to do that. And how has that made things different? Well, I've tried to provide you with some updates with our violation notices where we're at today. And I put on both of these charts. This is the environmental control violations. You can see the one in the top left-hand corner is for all of 2023. And then the larger one is through the end of September of this year. I marked on here the yellow line that is 300 violations. And you'll notice that we have well exceeded that for weed notices. And when you look at the violations for 2023, how many were sent out compared to where we're at this year. And that's just as of September. I think we are definitely trying to do what you ask us to do, to send more notifications out to people. Here's another comparison that just kind of shows you percentages of those environmental cases and those reports that go out. 44% of those that have been sent out thus far this year are for weeds. And then the next largest is other, which encompasses all the items listed there, but then nuisances at 17. And off-street parking. There's less of those, but maybe that's because we are actually getting people to respond and take care of the issues. Then I kind of wanted to show you case numbers. So in March, I showed you the red box. So as of March 7th, we had 55 of these cases in the engineering office, active cases. As of October 2nd, we are running at 133 cases that we're running through engineering. Those have not been sent to court yet. Then the next slide shows those reports that have been sent on to court. In March, we had 64 cases that were sent to court from engineering. Now we have sent 86 cases from engineering to court. And then since the beginning of the year, 35 of those cases are active, 51 of those cases have been closed. So these cases are running through the process, and we're getting cases closed and getting items addressed. So total numbers, when you're looking at all of those environmental control violations, if you look at those for the last 4 years, and again, 2024 is only through October 1st, we're over the 2023 number by about 500 different cases. So our staff is doing a great job of pushing this through, and our court staff is definitely a big part of that as well. We're trying to be a well-oiled machine, if you will. This I also included, because we provided this to you last time, the mowing assessment and collection, because when someone receives a mowing notice, if they don't get it mowed within a certain time period, then we send our staff out. And this shows you the amount of properties that have been mowed or billed, and then how collections is running. And our finance staff takes care of that. And so that stuff can come in all throughout the year. Those payments can come in at any time throughout the year. What changes do you want to see? That's the big question for you. We talked in the past about a more aggressive timeline for nuisances. We talked about increased fines for violations. We could just continue with this current approach till we see where we're at the end of the year, so we have some good numbers to compare annually. Or you tell us what you want us to focus on, if there's anything different.
What's the difference between mowing and weeds?
The difference between mowing and weeds? Tell me what you're looking at.
Well, you have them in two different parts on the bar chart. You have mowing and weeds are separate, so.
Let me look, Rich. On the bar chart, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mowing notice?
Mowing notice and weed notice. I don't know. I'll have to look that one up for you.
Well, I guess I was curious, I mean, so there's that, and then you look at,
Maybe high grass versus the whole thing full of weeds. Just
The
high-
mowing notice may be one where we've had to actually send staff out to do the mowing, but I'll double check that for you.
because for 2024, current year, we've only sent out 1,400. Is there more $1,400 of assessments over to the county, which is a marked decrease from 2023?
We do have more people paying.
So that's great. I mean, so that kind of tells me that what we're doing right now is kind of working, so.
We only send the ones over there who haven't paid, or, because we've tried a couple of times to get the money from them, then we send it to
So
the
that's
county clerk.
what I wanted to hear was, is it working? And it sounds like that's working as well, so. I don't know that I would want to change too much too soon.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just kind of getting into this. Would you say that the inspectors are catching most of this, or is most of it being turned in on the app and in other,
Everything.
everything?
It's everything, yeah.
Okay.
But we are putting more staff time to it, I will tell you that, positively.
Okay. Have we seen some habitual violators, since we're being more aggressive with the program, get closer to compliance?
I would say habitual violators probably remain habitual violators.
Yeah, okay.
Oftentimes, though, over the years, and I'm talking about a lot of years just watching this, you have, a handful of people that are really, they're the habitual violators, but that group may change, kind of on a 5-year cycle. And I don't know whether that's because they move, or it's because they have somebody in their family starts helping them with their cleanup, or what. But typically that group changes. I wouldn't say we've had the same group for the last 30 years.
With the increase in violations of about, 502, do you feel like that you can continue on without additional help? And just like you're going?
For now, yes. What we are doing is we're supplementing our environmental control officer with one of our building inspectors that's picking things up in between. And, we have all city staff turns things in if they see them. And of course, we have a lot more people giving more comments as we've been talking about it through the app and those kinds of things. I get a lot of emails, that kind of thing as well. But as our housing inspections increase, we may have to change that slightly, because that inspector's going to get pulled off on some of those things. But the hope is the weed notices die down in the winter, and we're starting to see some of the building inspections come up, and so we'll be able to shift staff that way.
Have you hit that moment with the iWork platform that it's actually making you faster and making things easier rather than that initial learning the system, and it kind of slows you down at first?
I think so. Definitely, our secretarial staff understands it really well, and they're able to kind of feed stuff to our inspectors.
Right.
And they're maneuvering through.
'Cause
Running reports is maybe not second nature yet, but getting there.
Right. That crawl, walk, run, you'll get there.
What about the, I'm just kind of thinking socially here, but like the elderly people who can't get out and mow their yard, or can't get out and clean up, maybe they don't have the family support resources that can help them. What can we do, or what can we offer those folks who might, not really intentionally be violating, but just.
When we hear those kind of comments, if we know that that really is the case. There are some church groups that have volunteered, and we try and hook those
Good,
people up. We try and partner them. And so definitely, if there are any volunteer groups that want to be on our list, please let us know, because those, just like everything else, they ebb and flow as well, also, as people have time in their lives to be volunteers in that area. We've had lots at one time and then get in lower periods, so.
Great. Well, I'm happy to hear that there's there's some kind of a, resource out there. Also, sometimes, if people are making like Adult Protective Services reports, sometimes the Adult Protective Services have funding to help with cleanup as well, and we kind of base it on those parameters too, like what, can they afford it? Are they intentionally doing this or not, type of thing. And if they have the funds, they can go in and pay someone to clean it up. So that's always kind of an option too. I mean, doesn't reflect on the person negatively necessarily. It's more like an assessment. So that's always kind of an option. I think maybe something we could utilize too. But I'm glad to hear that we have some kind of backup for those folks. Thank you.
Not a lot, but some. Yeah.
Some.
Yeah.
Sounds better than nothing. Yes.
Okay, other comments? Thank you. That was a clean report, a cleanup report. Update on Themian Park. Suzanne.
Yes. I just wanted to give you an update. We had a joint meeting with the school district and the NRC board. It's been several months ago now. And you assigned a committee together, and Vice Mayor Stinnett serves on that committee. And the committee has met several times, and we have a final layout that you see on the screen. It was included in the packet. This is for the different proposed improvements, and that would be 3 new pickleball courts, new and updated 2 basketball courts, a soccer field that would have artificial turf, and then 2 baseball fields that would be, they'd have backstops but not outfield fencing, and then some new, a restroom that would be on the east end, and a new shelter building and some sidewalk throughout the park. That's kind of the extent of the plan itself. The group met just on the October 2nd, and they've approved this final plan. And in the packet, I told you that the total cost of the improvements was estimated at 1.63. It's a little bit higher. We got some additional numbers in, and it's 1.76 million. So you might note that if you're looking at costs here. We had a discussion also with the group about donations and naming rights, because as well as Commissioner Stinnett, we have Stacy Musser with the NRC board, Ian Long with the school district, and Brian Baskey, the rec superintendent, Fred Van Rankin, the superintendent of schools, Bradley Cook, that's with the Rayler Foundation, and then Gary Holler, he's here in the audience this evening as the architect that volunteered services for this process with the committee that you and your counterparts assigned. And in our meetings, we talked about the donations, because the Rayler Foundation group has people that are wanting to give, and maybe some large sums that could go towards this, but they were looking at naming rights. And so I provided them with the commission's naming policy, and they would be following that as they would move forward. And if there is someone that provides donation that is of a larger nature, then we would bring that to you, asking you if it would be okay, because we do own the park. Remember, we own the park, the city, but it is leased to the school district. And these improvements, the expectation is at this point that the improvements would be paid for with the funds that would be donated. The NRC has committed to providing $100,000 of their funds towards pickleball courts. They have that programmed into their capital program. And so the next step that we have would be updating the interlocal PBC agreement. The committee did choose that these improvements would fall under that PBC agreement where NRC would maintain it. And then future updates after the initial purchase, the funding for the maintenance and any updates to the infrastructure as it ages out would be funded through the PBC. And Chris and I have talked about that, and we'll be putting together a draft interlocal agreement that would go back to you, the city commission, and to the school district board, and to the NRC board for everybody to review. Once we have that ready with all of the information attached, and we would ask everybody then to approve that going forward. But because we now have the cost and the layout, the Railer Foundation is going to move forward with their fundraising efforts to try and be able to move forward with a schedule that would be taking the agreement to each of the entities. We're hoping to get it back to everybody before the end of the year for approval. And then if their fundraising goes well, we take the agreement to the PBC so that we make sure the PBC board understands what their role would be in this. And then if the fundraising dollars are there, then we would be hiring an architect to draw the plans, because we need to have plans to be able to bid out the project. And the project would be phased so that the first piece would be looking at the courts. They want to get the courts done first in phase one. And so those phase one improvements, the goal would be to try and move forward with those in the spring of next year, assuming that the fundraising comes in.
When you say courts, you mean basketball and pickle?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And as we have more information and we have the draft agreements, we'll bring that back to you. I just kind of wanted to give you an update because it had been a while since you'd probably heard. And am I missing anything, Commissioner Stinnett?
No, I think it's just key to point out we're retaining the Girl Scouts improvements that they did recently, the existing swing sets, and
Yes.
We made it a point to retain the walking path as close to it as it was to allow you to traverse that park without having to go around it. So.
And each one of these items was priced separately, I take it, so that they know what the pickleball and basketball is separate.
Yes.
As opposed to the
Yes, we have a working estimate on this, and at some point with the interlocal agreement, I think we'll have the financing laid out, what would be funded and how. There may be some portion of this that we would, the city would be asked to do some in-kind work where we might use our crews maybe to take care of the pad for the restroom building, or we might do some of the demo work on existing sidewalk or something like that. And the NRC staff may be asked to remove the existing backstops so that new could go in. So there's going to be some pieces that each of us would be doing as in-kind work that could buy down the cost of the project overall. But I don't have all of that laid out yet.
Do you anticipate in the future the three entities increasing their mill levy contribution to the PBC?
I don't think that will be necessary anytime soon.
Okay.
What they have going in there now pays for the bonds, and it puts money away for the turf, which is what the main function of the PBC is. And then there's money being built up all the time for new projects.
Okay.
So I think we're good for right now.
Good.
Remember, we just replaced the turf this year, and remember the pool improvements we just did and the ball field improvements at Centennial. Some of the things that we have plugged into the capital program for the PBC funds, if you remember, we didn't do a full-blown redo of the pool. We tried to do kind of a reconstruct. And so one of the slides, for instance, we did a renovation to, and it's probably going to need to be replaced, here in, 2 to 5 years. And so that's one of the items that we have plugged into that, into those costs. So there's different things that are in there in the future, but the turf, we'd be looking at, an 8 to 10 year
It's every
item.
10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it may not last that long. It just depends how it goes and the use and all of that. And then these items, the reason that we want to have full-blown construction drawings with specifications so that it's built to a public standard because it's going to have public use, so that it isn't something that's going to fall apart in a couple of years. I mean, we could just go lay down a concrete pad and they could play basketball on it, but on pickleball courts and basketball courts that are outside, you want to have them post-tension. And so we would make sure that we have those built to the standards that would be necessary so that we don't have that stuff falling apart anytime soon after the initial construction. And we really have a grassroots group of people that are wanting to do this project, and we have another group that has come forward that Brian Basque and I have been working with that are going to be, they have done some fundraising out for Railer Field. A parent group is going to be funding batting cages out there, which was one of the items that we were not able to build with the project. And we are committing some of our in-kind work with our crews to place the concrete. The NRC will pay for the concrete, but then the volunteer group, the parents, have raised the funds for all of the batting cage materials. So there's a lot of people that are working towards improving Newton, and it's really fun to see.
Good.
It's really great seeing these public-private partnerships.
It is.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Accept a NDV temporary drainage easement.
Yes, Commissioners, this easement that you have here on the agenda, this is for the NDV development is there on South Kansas Avenue. This is the property that Occidental owns. And there's another, this shows the easement in a actual drawing form, but there's one more that's maybe a little bit easier for you to see. So Quail Creek Avenue comes onto South Kansas Avenue, and then the area shown in pink is the approximate location of this temporary drainage easement that is being provided to us. It is needed in order for this area to drain properly before Quail Creek Avenue is extended farther, like the curved part that you see on this drawing. We will be bringing to you soon the extension of Quail Creek Avenue from Kansas over to kind of where that pink easement ends to the west there, and Quail Creek will be extended to that point. But then the drainage from there needs to get back to the drainage channel, and until additional street and additional storm sewer is built on the curved area of Quail Creek Avenue, this temporary easement is needed. Once Quail Creek Avenue is extended and the storm sewer is put in, then this will go away. The temporary easement would return to the property owner, and that's what the document states. So we would be asking you to receive this easement this evening. Accept it.
Okay, so we need a motion to accept the easement as presented, the drainage easement.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we don't have anybody on the citizens forum. We are going to have an executive session, and we don't anticipate that there will be any action taken after the executive session, so y'all are okay to stick around if you want to, but you'll just see us sign it off when we get done. So let's go around the horn first. And Rich, you got anything you want to share?
No, sir.
Comment on? Kathy?
Yeah, just want to say what a great event Taste of Newton was. It was huge. The attendance was incredible. It's just, and extending that to 8th Street, it just filled that up. So it was good. Very well organized. Hats off to the chamber for all the work they did. And the weather, I would say, was probably the icing on the cake. Weather made it great. So just want to say it was a terrific event.
I second that. I just shout out to Pam and the entire chamber for putting that together. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
I just need to echo that, but the pork chops especially, and I had to take some home, and they were still just as juicy today. That's it.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Okay, I don't have anything either, so somebody want to read the motion?
How much time?
Call it 8:20.
I move that the City Commission recess into executive session to conduct discussions regarding an industrial prospect. The justification for closing the meeting is to discuss data relating to the financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. Time and place at which the open meeting shall resume is, what was it?
8:20.
8:20 PM in the Commission chambers.
Okay, so we have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 See you at 8:20.